On stage one, the Kellogg's Tour of Britain paid homage to Stonehenge as the 87 riders fought out the 105 miles from Portsmouth to Bath. By the time they reached Brassknocker Hill, 13 riders had a lead of 10 minutes. And in the Spa City, it was Phil Anderson who passed the test with a sprint win to claim the leader's yellow jersey. Overall now, Phil Anderson leads this race by 4 seconds from Vladimir Belli of Italy. Bo-Andre Namvent is third, 8 seconds back. Heinz Imboden is fourth, and fifth is Francois Lemarchand. The only Slovakian in the race, Jan Zarada, is sixth, 24 seconds back. And that's the situation this morning outside of Cardiff City Hall. The riders now facing 117 miles throughout Wales. They'll reach the finish in Swansea. They start by climbing the hill into Caerphilly, then they go to the Black Mountains. But the last 17 miles of today's stage is a real brute. They will climb Constitution Hill 3 times. No race has ever gone over this climb before. It's cobbled and it's very, very steep. Now, 2 years ago, Phil Anderson won the Kellogg's Tour of Britain. He also won the first stage into Birmingham, so he knows what it's like to start out on day 2 in the leader's yellow jersey. Here's Paul Sherwin with Phil this morning.
I'm hoping this year it isn't premature. You know, it was a tough stage yesterday, and but still I've led the race before from the first stage, so yeah, maybe I know the way to go.
So what's the team tactic going to be? Because we've got a very big steep climb halfway through the stage, and then the finishing circuit in Swansea with that climb of Constitution Hill.
Struggle, mate, struggle. Struggle with the best. Oh, well, obviously I've got to, you know, there's some key riders there I have to watch. You know, the field's whittled down a bit yesterday. There's 13 riders I have to look out for, at least 11 others, because I've got Frankie Andrea, my teammate, there. And of those, there are some pretty elite riders there which I have to look out for. And other than that, you know, I've got a strong team, and they'll be helping me look after things.
He's a canny rider, Phil Anderson. He's won the big races before. He knows now what's ahead of him as the riders roll out through the beautiful grounds of Cardiff Castle.
For the racing conditions for the day, it'll be overcast nearly all day today for the riders. The sun won't really manage to break through. There'll be a high of 17 degrees Celsius this afternoon, so it won't be too cold.
And the riders approaching the Blue Flag, which comes straight after the start today, and they're now facing the climb up Thornhill into Caerphilly. It's a very, very steep little ascent, this, although it's not too long.
Difficult way to start the day, actually, because as they get to the top, the race really is quite tough, and there's a dangerous descent down into Caerphilly.
Looks like Peter de Klerk on the Lotto team setting the pace here. Stage winning the Tour de France a year ago. And the riders jockeying a little bit for position. And Cezary Zemana, the Polish rider who rides for the American Subaru Montgomery team, is coming on the left here. He was the king of the mountains in this race 1 year ago, and he goes hard on the left.
Well, that was a good move. Zemana coming up there. There's Peter de Klerk, and I think it was just Zemana over the top there who beat Peter de Klerk.
And it was indeed. De Klerk is second, Bo Hamburger is third, and Chris Young with GB Professionals is fourth. Now, this is what the riders will see as they come off the top of the climb there, the beautiful site of Caerphilly Castle. And the sharp descent down through the town and on the road now towards Merthyr Tydfil. And this is the scene of the first big sprint of the day, the Ordnance Survey time bonus sprint. Chris Lillywhite is in second place here. He's the leader of the competition. He won 2 of the 3 yesterday in that magenta-coloured jersey. And there's a move coming down the outside.
Well, obviously the Mercae riders want to get up there as well, because they want to lead out Jan Zavarada in the magenta jersey. You can see just in the middle there, Keith Reynolds has swung over. Mark Walsham is taking over. It's a big fight all the way down to the line.
So Walsham trying to find Lillywhite on his right, but in fact it's going to be a challenge on the left here from Jan Zarada, and that was very close on the line. I think Zarada took it. Zarada gets the victory over Chris Lillywhite, and Mark Walsham finishing there in third place. So a few deep breaths. Chris Lillywhite will retain his overall lead in that competition for a little while longer. 13 points his advantage now. The wreck stop for the riders as they move away from Merthyr Tydfil, the beautiful rolling roads now of the Brecon Beacons National Park. And the field all regrouping here, it seems, as they start the long climb. And there's something going on here. This is in fact Moreno Argentin, who doesn't seem very pleased with whatever Frankie Andrea is saying to him, Paul.
It looks to me as he's saying, what are you doing setting the pace at the front there? And there really is a little bit of an argument going on as we go into the national park of the Brecon Beacons.
Well, let's have a look at that again. That was Argentin. There he is on the left. And this is Frankie Andrea, who's a teammate, remember, of Phil Anderson from the Motorola squad. And quite clearly is not happy by the speed that Argentin, the former world champion, is setting, and in fact Argentin there gesticulating that he really doesn't care what Frankie Andreu has got to say, and he's trying to reposition himself here. He's looking way down the road at the back group. You can see a group coming up in the distance there, and now he's hit Frankie Andreu. It was more a tap really, I suppose, but Andreu is not too impressed by that either. Dagot Lorton here enjoying the party. He was a teammate of Frankie's last year.
I think that's a little bit of the Italian temperament coming out there. He says, what are you doing at the front here? And I think all the other riders in this group are coming to have a chat with him too.
Well, in fact, this is Fondries now having a talk in Italian with Argentin and trying to explain to him that there is a problem, and Argentin is putting his point as well. Something certainly is going on. Well, our man up at the front of the race is Alan Piper. Perhaps he can help us.
The tension was really high just back there. A lot of the riders stopped to go to the toilet, and former world champion Marino Argentin decided he'd make the pace. The whole Motorola team had to stop and wait for Phil Anderson, who looked to be in difficulty trying to come back to the group. Maurizio Fondries came to the front and in a turn of anger displayed a bit of pace of his own. The riders aren't happy with Argentin at the moment, but that's cycle racing.
Well, it's the law of the jungle, and in fact Phil Anderson has got back now, and he is also explaining to Moreno Argentin he is none too happy with what's been going on, and now he's reaching for something out of his pocket. It's a map of the route saying, look pal, there's still a long way to go here, and give us all a break. Well, attention I think will subside because the mountains will take care of that, and they're still to come ahead of us as we now roll out along this beautiful road here in the National Park of the Brecon Beacons. It really is a most beautiful part of the world, and the riders are still in a long straight line there, Paul.
Well, it is strange. That's one of the things that does happen, though. And when the riders get out onto the road like this, they do get a bit angry. But I must admit, when they get back to the changing rooms in the evening, it's all good fun. But we've got a chance now to look at the kind of gears that the riders will be using today. And it's a big discussion amongst the riders every morning because they've never really raced some of the climbs. I think when I spoke to one or two of them this morning, they said they'd be using either a 39-tooth chainring at the front with a 24 at the back, and I hear Maurizio Fondries used a 41-tooth chainring with a 25, and those are really small gears.
I have to say, Paul, that those sort of gears are the ones they wouldn't use even in the stage of the Tour de France in the Pyrenees, but they're very afraid of Constitution Hill. They know it's steep and nobody has seen it or ridden it before. And the field now regrouping completely here as we head away from the Brecon Beacons and on towards Seney Bridge. And then, of course, they'll be settling into the climb of the Black Mountain and then on down towards Swansea. It really is a tough day on the menu today. And that's where we are now at Seney Bridge, and the riders are still all together, and the Motorola team, well, I was about to say the Motorola team had got control at the front, but this is in fact an attack by Henrik Redant on the right and Peter Farazin of the Lotto team also from Belgium.
Peter Farazin really looks to be suffering a little bit there, and I'm not surprised because Henrik Redant is a big, strong rider, especially on the flat. But I think if they can just get round the corner out of the town, they're going to get onto some slightly smaller roads. And if they can get out of sight, out of mind, as they say in cycling jargon, they have a good chance of building up a break.
Well, Redant is now leading here, but he's not a great climber. He's a very, very big man. Peter Farazin perhaps better equipped for the Black Mountain, which isn't too far away, as they now try to build a little march over the rest of the field. And they're willing to work together. They know each other's tactics very well. They're both from Belgium. And in fact, Redant used to be on the Lotto team. Let's go back to the bunch and look at this now. The blue and red jerseys of Motorola have brought the whole team to the front now to set the tempo in defence of Phil Anderson.
They're not really chasing that hard at the moment because these two riders aren't a great threat to them. In fact, as you can see, Peter Farazin is putting the pressure on at this instant. He's just got rid of Henrik Redant on the slopes of the Black Mountain.
Well, Farazin, I think, is making a mistake here because although Redant can't climb, he's just dropping him off. It's a long climb to the top of the Black Mountain, and this is the climb. It hairpins its way to the summit, and then it's an awful long way still to go to the finish in Swansea. I think Farazin is being a little ambitious.
Well, that was a bit dangerous leaving Henrik Redant like that, because here Peter Farazin is on his own with a rider like Henrik Redant with him. They could have built up a great lead. Time check's just coming through at the moment. It's 55 seconds, and Henrik Redant must be a little bit further down the climb, suffering like a maniac.
So the last 100 metres of the climb for Peter Farazin. At least he'll play in the first category climb of this year's Kellogg's Tour. When he gets over the top, you can see the valley lying down there right behind our picture. And a nice little tempo here from Farazin too. Small crowd on the summit, and avoiding the nasty chill wind up there. Now this is the chasing group forming, and we've got Moreno Argentin here, the green jersey worn today by Vladimir Belli, and Sean Yates is looking after Phil Anderson. Anderson, Paul, I think is dropping off.
Looked like he was suffering quite a bit there, and Yates is just looking across to see how he is. In fact, this group has picked up Hendrik Redant, and he's been dropped almost immediately. But the man setting the pace at the front is Maurizio Fondriest, the teammate of Vladimir Belli, who's in second place overall. But Anderson is really suffering at the moment.
Well, Anderson has actually backed off from the pace being set here by Fondriest. This is the rider who lost everything yesterday when he lost 10 minutes. He wasn't part of that leading group of 13 riders. Here is Jesper Skibby too, and he is further back on the climbs. He's not a great climber himself, but he still won that stage of the Tour de France at Évreux this year, which finished on top of a slope. And this is the rider we should watch out for, Vladimir Belli. He's a very good climber. He's on the same team as Fondriest just behind him, and I think Fondriest is now dedicated to try and help Belli win this race.
Well, this is a dangerous move for Anderson because Heinz Imboden is in there as well. He was in that group of 13 riders yesterday. So was Belli. They go over the top there in second and third place, but one man missing is Phil Anderson. I just saw Maximilian Chiandri looking back to see where he was.
Well, Chiandri went over the top here in fourth place. Fondriest was fifth. Argentin was sixth. And in fact, Chiandri has dropped back almost immediately from that leading group, which is now caught up with the low man. And here they are coming together, Peter Farazin. Now, I think Farazin will be quite pleased to see a small little group coming to him.
Well, that's definitely what he needs, because there's a long way to go to the finish in Swansea, but we can just see the Phil Anderson group behind there. In fact, Chiandri waited for him, and he's got two teammates with him there. I think Sean Yates is there and Frankie Andreu, so he may well have a chance of getting back.
Well, let's have a look, Paul, because here they are coming up now. And in fact, the Motorola boys, this is the benefit of having a good team in a big tour, because these riders now are dedicated to get their leader back. And there he is, Phil Anderson, now hanging on to the sting in the tail of these riders as they try to pull him back up to that leading group, and it looks as though they are doing just that. So there is a leading group forming now on the descent of the Black Mountain. So the leaders are coming together at the front of the race, but on his way still up the mountain, the sad side of Hendrik Redant, who is now beginning to struggle.
The action's coming thick and fast here in the race. Maurizio Fondriest just led his teammate Belli up Black Mountain. They were putting on the pace, trying to get rid of some of the Motorola riders, trying to cut down that team strength. But as you can see, Motorola's still controlling the race. Phil Anderson's chances are still alive. Let's see what happens on the final hill.
And welcome back. And while the Kellogg's Tourmen are heading towards Swansea, in Swansea now, the crowd being treated to an exhibition race here. It's called the Handlebar Hound event for the newspaper delivery boys and girls. It's a nationwide competition, and this is the final. You've got to grab your newspaper, turn those mountain bikes around through the slalom. First one back will win the final, and the rider on the right is Simon Thomas, and for winning it he will receive a Rally Activator mountain bike. Well done, Simon. So that was in Kingsway in Swansea, and coming in towards Kingsway now is the leader of the Kellogg's Tour today, having broken away on the descent of Black Mountain, Evgeny Berzan, the 4,000 meters former world pursuit champion when he rode for the Soviet Union in Japan in 1990, and he's built a big lead, Paul.
Well, that's a good move there, but he's going to get a shock, I think, when he comes in here to see Constitution Hill. But with 4 minutes and 52 seconds lead, it could well be that he can hold on to take the victory.
Berzan first into the city of Swansea, winning there the Ordnance Survey Sprint, and now he's facing up to the first climb of Constitution Hill, and believe me, it's terrible. Now he's going to get some shock, Paul, when he makes this right-hand turn.
It's going to be very difficult because he's just ridden for about 45 miles. He's in extremely big gear. He's going to turn right into Constitution Hill, and he's going to try and have to find the lowest gear possible, and that will be a big shock to the system.
And now I bet his heart's in his boots, because he can see the slopes of Constitution Hill. The cobbles are about to start, and as it comes up towards the summit, I would suggest the gradient on this climb is about 1 in 3.
It's a very steep climb all the way up to the top, and you can see now he's changed from the top gear that he's been using all the way along the valley to the bottom, the smallest gear that he's got, and he's having an awful job getting that gear over. He's having to use all of his body just to try and get himself up this climb at the moment.
Well, Paul, I don't know anywhere else in Europe where the riders have been asked to climb a hill as steep as this year.
Well, it's not the fact that they've got to climb it this year, it's the fact that they've got to climb it 3 times today.
Indeed. Now look at this, you can almost feel the pain coming out of those legs as the climb steepens. The crowd are loving every minute of it and clapping him all the way to the summit, but his lead is coming down. Here is the main field being led by the Motorola riders as they approach the city of Swansea.
Well, if he goes up that climb the next 2 laps at that speed, it may well be that he'll get pulled back into the fold, but the Motorola team at the front doing a good job. That looked like Steve Bauer.
Oh my goodness me, it's hurting now, and will the finishing line at the top of the hill here come quick enough? Because it climbs on, in fact, for a little bit further before we descend back down to the start finishing line in the town, and there's 2 more times to follow that. Here's the main field coming in, so they'll sprint for 2nd and 3rd in the Ordnance Survey sprint. Lillywhite gets it. That should ensure he keeps his lead in that competition, and 3rd place has gone to the American Andy Bishop. Now they've got to face the climb. And that main field, in fact, has been reduced considerably out on the open road today. Now we're over the top of the cobbles, but the climb goes on. There's the board. 4 minutes and 56 seconds is the gap. He's hanging on in there at the moment.
He is doing, but there's still a long way to go, because once this main field gets to the climb, they're really going to speed up it, and he has got to try and survive while they'll be racing up it, trying to make a decision, and the attacks will come, I'm sure, from the Lamprey team, who'll try and dislodge Phil Anderson.
Steve Bauer from Canada bringing the Motorola boys round first. Now you can see the climb we're talking about, right to the summit as far as you can see. It is very, very steep, it's badly surfaced, and it is the sort of the climb that the Belgian riders I would have expected to have loved, because these roads abound in Belgium. Look at this, we've got Moreno Argentin on the road, nobody complaining about him stopping now. And this rider also struggling here is Atle Kowalsvold, who is a very, very good climber, and I think has chosen the wrong gear.
I think he has, but let's not forget he's coming back from an awful accident he had earlier in the year when he broke his collarbone. It was a very difficult season for him, and he's on his way back. But at the front, Anderson riding very well in the front here with all his teammates around him, waiting for the attacks to come, and this is the way to do it. Stay at the front and to stay out of trouble.
The white flag indicates the summit of the climb. This is the first climb for the main field. As they go over the top, Berzan, Kai Huntermark, the rider we can see is 2nd. Phil Anderson, the yellow jersey, is 3rd. Frankie Andreu, Maurizio Fondriest and Francois Le Marchand. Also riding a very good race for the French Don team. But at the back, it's a very, very different story indeed here. And Jesper Skibby is also struggling. He's been in this situation before a few years ago, when in fact he was knocked off his bike by the race referee on a cobble climb, not quite as steep as this one.
This looks like Serge Baguet from the Lotto team trying to go forward here, and everybody is just quite happy to try and survive, because this is over the top of the cobbles. The climb continues, and it really is difficult. Baguet's got a good move going there, and nobody's actually started to react.
I'm sure the riders felt the climb ended with the cobbles. They didn't expect it to kick again like it does here. And now let's go back onto the climb for the 2nd time. And this is the leader now. You'll note that, in fact, Berzan has taken off his cap and is now just trying to survive here on the climb. The crowd cramming into the cobblestones here to catch a glimpse of this man. Normally, he would have had the race in the bag with a 5-minute lead when he arrived in Swansea, but has he?
Well, that gap really has come down now, 1 minute and 31 seconds as we come up to the 2nd passage of Constitution Hill, and you can see Serge Baguet is going to go over just a little bit further down the hill. Martin van den Bakker will go over in 3rd place. Really is all coming back together.
So that was the order the 2nd time up the climb as we go to the bell for the final circuit of Swansea. Now it's 5 miles this lap, by the way. And now there was another ordnance sprint there. First through is Berzan, being chased now by Serge Baguet, who has been joined by Martin den Bakker from the TVM team from Holland, and they are clear of this group, and the group still containing the yellow jersey and the principal contenders in the race overall.
Well, his teammates are doing an excellent job. There's last year's winner, Maximilian Chiandri, on the front there. We're back on the climb, and it looks as if it's all going to be over for Berzan, because those 2 riders are going to come up to him, and I'm sure the attack will come more than likely from Serge Baguet.
Well, Baguet's the rider on our right, and I'm sorry to see that Berzan's long attack has come to naught. They're 53 miles in the lead. He's been caught by those other 2 riders, and it looks as though Baguet is trying to go clear immediately. He's definitely the strongest of these 3. As he stamps on the pedals now, Den Bakker is the 2nd man under the banner there, and I think they have in fact, dispatch Berzan back towards the main field. Well, what's left of it anyway.
Well, that is a sad day, but Phil Anderson attacking at the top of the climb here, and that is a surprise because I thought that the climb would be attacked by Vladimiro Belli, one of the Lamprey riders, and in fact Maurizio Fondries is there with Belli trying to get back into contention with Anderson, and this really is an about turn because he's the one that I thought would be at the front of the race by now.
These two top Italians have seen nothing like this in Italy, I can guarantee you that. We go back up to the leaders here, and Bagge looks over. He's seen that Dembacca has struggled his way back. 1 minute and 2 seconds is the lead, so it looks as though they're safe now. Which one of these two can take the stage? And I don't recall either of them winning a race this year either. And Anderson is just reminding the other principals in the Kellogg's Tour, he is the strong man. He's gone over the top in 5th place. Fondries is in 6th slot. Let's go back down to the finish now, because this is the sprint for the line. Martin Dembacca is going to the front, and I think Serge Bagge will be pleased about that, because he's gone very, very early indeed. It's a long sprint up Kingsway, and now, in fact, it's the other way around, because Bagge has got the lead off him, takes the victory for the Lotto team. Martin Dembacca is second. This is the sprint for 3rd place. Skibby has got back to the front somehow, but loses out there to Maurizio Fondries. Anderson brings over the race there for 5th place. Belli is 6th. And this a victory that Serge Bagge will cherish. It comes almost exactly a year to the day since he last won a professional race. He beat Martin Dembacca of Holland. Fondries just coming in 3rd there, ahead of Jesper Skibby. Phil Anderson, the race leader, pipping his arch rival, Vladimir Belli of Italy. The presentation tonight, a very happy Serge Bagge, and a very nice piece of Waterford crystal for him. Overall, no real change in the end. Phil Anderson retaining his 4 seconds advantage over Vladimir Belli. Bo-Andre Namtvent 8 seconds back. Then comes Heinz Imboden, Francois Le Marchand in 5th place. Bagge climbs up to 13th place overall, but still more than 9 minutes behind Phil Anderson. Well, just before Phil Anderson pulled on his 2nd race leader's yellow jersey, Paul Sherwin was with him after the Battle of Constitution Hill.
Well, Phil, that was a pretty hard day. You were put under pressure once or twice there.
Yeah, firstly on Black Mountain it was pretty tough, but you know, had a few problems, but came around again and didn't have too much of a problem in the last circuit here. I felt pretty strong.
Well, what about that finishing circuit? What do you think when you saw the climb for the first time?
Well, I was expecting it, you know. I'd seen some photographs of it. I had my scouts out here checking it out, but no, it was tough. It was long and steady, and tell you, by the time I wouldn't have wanted it 1 foot longer, because it was very tough, you know.
So the end of the 2nd day here in Swansea, and another race leader's yellow jersey for Phil Anderson. Tomorrow he'll have to defend that on the longest stage to Coventry, 124 miles. The race starting tomorrow morning in Newport, when the riders will say goodbye to Wales. They'll always remember, though, the Battle of Constitution Hill, and I think that will stick in their minds for a long time to come. Tomorrow our programme is at 8:30. Until then, goodbye.